What was the moment that your game of truth or dare got way out of control? I think my most exciting game of truth or dare was cut down in its prime when a guy dared his girlfriend to flash everyone and then broke down crying because now everyone had seen her bikini zone and he no longer felt special. Story 2. At my first job, back when I was a teenager, about 6 of us were playing this mid-shift. 3 girls, 3 guys. It was barely starting to get risque, and one of the guys is asked, "Have you ever pleasure himself to thoughts of a coworker?" And he says yes. This is as juicy as it's gotten, so we latch on to it. The next time around, he's asked if he's pleasure himself to anyone else playing. He says yes. Next round, he's asked to name which of us he's jorked it to. He looks at us one by one, then says, "All of you." The guys all got flustered as hell. They'd never even realized they were on the roster. Story 3. When 3 of my friends, all straight males, wound up laying on the floor trying to see who could get a full raging boner first. One of their girlfriends walked in on the competition. We don't play truth or dare anymore. Story 4. My late 20s cousin took me to his apartment when stripped down to his underwear and wanted to play truth or dare. I dared him to put his pants back on, and fortunately, he complied and didn't proceed with the game any further. Still freaked me the damn out. Story 5. Not truth or dare, but during a game of Neve, my friend said, "Never have I ever blown a guy?" All the girls put down fingers. Said friend looked at my boyfriend and said, "You have to put a finger down." Turned out my boyfriend cheated on me with a guy. Kicker, every single person in the room playing the game knew about it but me. Awkward silence ensued. Story 6. When I was around 10, I played truth or dare with some girls a few years older than me. I got dared to TP the principal's house of their school. It was a pretty big house, maybe 3,500 square feet. They all ended up coming with me, but my dad catches us sneaking out and asks us where we're going. All of the girls start stammering and trying to tell a lie, and I look at my dad and say, "We're gonna go TP a house." My dad starts laughing and responds with, "Well, sounds like you need adult supervision for that, let's go." We ended up bringing a 10-pack of toilet paper and using the entire thing. 'Twas a fun night. Story 7. Playing with some friends a long time ago. It was a card-based game, like Cards Against Humanity, where everyone had a pile of truth cards and dare cards. For each turn, the victim would opt for a truth or a dare. The questioner would then pull the top card from the appropriate stack, either a card with a question on it, usually off-color or loaded with sexual innuendo, or a card with a dare on it, also semi-sexual, but suitable for adult parties. We were 2 couples, and so we took turns as couples. That is, each partner would take turns with the other partner of the couple. The other couple was a pair of young newlyweds. The woman asked her husband if he wanted a truth or a dare. He replied truth. She pulled the top card. "Have you ever paid for sex?" His answer, "Yes." Things got very chilly the rest of the night. Story 8. I was 17 or 18, I do not remember. Someone dared a much older girl to make out with me in a closet for 5 minutes. She was very pretty, way out of my league, and I think 20 or 21. But she took the dare. We get in the closet in the basement that was very small and very hot. Smelled like old mothballs and old clothes. She smelled like cigarettes, nice shampoo, and bubble gum. She gave me a super soft little kiss on the cheek, and then, in very limited space, gave me my first and most memorable BJ ever. I did not know how to react since this was before the internet. I honestly had no idea people did this. I remember being very excited when anyone after that said we should play truth or dare. Story 9. My friend's little brother, 9 or 10 years old, came in and dared one of the girls to put a paperclip into her finger, then stick that paperclip into an electrical outlet while it was still in her finger. After we told him no, he offered a replacement dare, which was to go down the street and burn down the church. Story 10. Me, a cousin, and a couple of buddies were at a youth conference in another town. After the conference was over, we got to chatting with a group of girls from the town. We decided to hang out back at our hotel room. We were all just chatting and listening to tunes, when all of a sudden, all 4 girls went to the bathroom together, leaving us sitting there like chumps. When they came out, they were all grinning, but we thought nothing of it. A few minutes later, one of them proposed a game of truth or dare, but they insisted the girls would be the ones to make all the dares. We agreed, hoping for at least some scraps of action. Long story short, every single one of us wound up getting laid. One of the guys even did it on the floor, and the other couple had sex in the bathroom. Turns out, the girls had planned it all along. They decided in advance which of them wanted each of us, got their story straight, and then proposed the game. They'd even brought their own condoms. The only drawback was, did it stink like sex in that room when my uncle came strolling in to wake us up the next morning. Story 11. At a sleepover, we dared our friend to strip down to his underwear. You know, homoerotic pubescent stuff. He comes out from the other room completely naked and gyrating, saying, "You got more than you bargained for." Story 12. This girl asked her friend to dare someone to have unprotected sex with her. When he received the dare, he literally just got up and walked out the house. Then the girl gets drunk, tries it on with a few guys there, to which they all rejected, confessed her love to another guy there, threatened to die, then fell asleep. This was a few years ago. I saw her a few months back and she looked pretty normal to me. That is pretty and normal, but I will never forget that day. Story 13. Someone had to spin around 50 times, take 10 consecutive shots of tequila, and run into a road. They actually came out okay. Someone had to put a paperclip in an electrical socket, suck it, turn it on. Same thing, but inserting paperclip into a hole. Fill bath with candles. Dude had like 1,000 some reason. Light, pour out an hour later, get in. Drink surface cleaner. That one was forfeit. The forfeit was to pour industrial glue in ear. He did it. Suffice to say, out of 43 attendants, 10 ended up in hospital. 8 from alcohol, ear dude and candle dude. Story 14. I was playing Truth or Dare with some friends during lunch in high school. Someone dared me for whatever reason to take my friend's inhaler and spray it in another friend's ear. I was being stupid, and without thought, I actually did it. One of the deans in my school was watching across the room and I nearly got suspended for assault. They even had a police officer come and talk to me about my actions. I was actually scared crapless because that was my first time ever getting into huge trouble. Luckily, the vice principal spared me and didn't even notify my parents because she knew I was a good kid. Story 15. In my first or second year of uni, my group of friends and I were having a get-together after finals ended. Considering finals had just ended and it was only about 7 of us, consuming alcohol seemed like the go-to activity. So once the buzz started to hit us, one of my friends tried to start a game of spin the bottle. But being a group of 3 couples and 1 single guy, we decided to play Truth or Dare instead. Like all Truth or Dare games, it started out pretty innocently. Take more shots, who's your celebrity crush, ECT. But eventually, things turned a bit weird. Our one single guy decided to dare one of the girls to lick whipped cream off of his schlong, and with a reluctant nod from her boyfriend, she got to action. Or at least tried to. Once she took off the dude's pants and saw his, well, hung appendage, she yells, "I've never seen one this big." And before she could even uncap the whipped cream, her boyfriend was swinging full force at the guy. Me and my other friend had to get in between a half-naked guy and a drunk ape, and by the time we split them up, everyone was uncomfortable. After we resolved it and me and my girlfriend started leaving, I just remember her leaning up to my ear and telling me she knew her boyfriend was self-conscious about his banana. Story 16. Conservative Christian School. Truth or Dare app. Task: dry hump the person to your right for 30 seconds. Teacher was there. Needless to say, the game ended quickly. Story 17. The game was escalating too fast anyway. This wasn't even the worst thing that happened that night, but gay friend accepted a dare to put his erect pen in a female friend. Boyfriend got him hard, and while everyone, including the victims, laughed, he mounted friend and started pumping away. This actually feels great. He managed to get out before looking really ecstatic. She was enjoying herself as well. It got awkwardly sexy. They were just plain ducking. It didn't last long. He came. I just came! Ha ha ha! If I get pregnant, I'm gonna kill you! Ha 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 ha! The game went on. More awkwardness was had. Nothing topped the awkwardness of her calling him a week later in tears because she was indeed pregnant. She did not murder him in the end. The kid just turned 18. Story 18. At a party, someone asked, "Who gave you the best BJ ever?" hoping to get a compliment. Instead, we found out that the man had received a BJ from every woman there and one of the men. That started a long chain of, "Wait, Bob had sex with Sally? When?" etc. Names changed. Feelings were hurt. I was also at a party where people decided that Truth or Dare was too much effort, so we played a strip game. We had game components that said yes/no/depends. You stripped on a yes and drew again on depends. Eventually, everyone went streaking and there was sumo wrestling in the backyard. Story 19. Friend got dared by his girlfriend to have sex with her in the other room and finish inside her. No birth control. He refused. They broke up. We found out it was a setup. She had planned to get herself preggies and force him to marry her. Strange night. Story 20. Probably the most extreme was at a weekend cabin party I was at. We were in a hot tub. There was 7 of us. Most of the women were topless, and some of us guys were bottomless. This had been going on for like a couple hours at this point, and we were supremely drunk. The dares got a little sexual, but that's not the extreme part of this. It's early May, but as the night goes on, it gets very cold, then it starts to rain. Then the wind picks up. We're all too exposed and afraid of the cold to want to leave the safety of the hot tub. I also think we were too drunk to notice the conditions around us getting worse. But eventually we started sobering up and the heat of the water started dissipating. Still, the game continued. We were all shivering, but no one wanted to be the first to wimp out. Until our sober sibling for the night comes out and yells at us to come in. The hot tub was sort of in the corner of this cabin, so she was surprised at what she saw, to say the least. Not 5 minutes after we gather our clothes and get inside, a gust of wind comes through and starts blowing around the furniture outside and also knocks out power. Later, we found out that the wind we had continued to play Truth or Dare in had gotten up to 70 miles per hour. There was some serious damage back in town. Some of the town didn't have power for a week, which makes it surprising that we still had it at our dinky cabin on the side of a mountain. When we left 2 days later, there were branches blocking the road down from the cabin we had to clear. We all came very close to dying of hypothermia and/or having our heads split open by flying furniture. Story 21. There was a time we were playing Truth or Dare in a hot tub. A girlfriend of ours had dared me to get hard in front of everyone. So I get up out of the tub and start playing with myself. Then from around the corner of the house, I get a flashlight in my face. That was the time I pleasure myself in front of a police officer. Story 22. When I was 12, I was on the porch playing Truth or Dare at night. We were told to stay on the porch, so a dare came to run across the road to the street light and back. So all three of us girls did it. I was wearing a plain t-shirt and a ball cap, hiding my hair in typical tomboy fashion. As we hit the light post and began to run back to the porch, a car comes screeching round the corner to stop in the middle of the intersection. Man jumps out with a crowbar. We freak and run for the house, and he gives chase. I was last in the small herd, and I have been told just as the crowbar is about to come down on me. I screamed and he stopped. The man yells, "Were you throwing rocks at my ducking car?" "No!" I cried as it's now full on fear tears, but I'm still running. He pivots around and leaves just as quickly as he showed up in his newish Camaro. I assume he realized I was not in fact a boy. We're panicked, freaking out. This psycho almost killed me. Once the sound of his engine fades, across the street, two boys come out of the dark between two houses. About our age, one in a ball cap, asking if we're okay. Yes, they were the throwers of the rocks, and hightailed it home after confirming I had not been bludgeoned to death for their childish vandalism. No idea what happened to the man, and our parents never called the cops. If memory serves, I'm not sure they believed us. And we're pissed. We left the porch. I'm 34 now, and remember that run like it was yesterday. Story 23. Played it with some friends at one of their apartments. Before the game, we wrote down dares on slips of paper, and on one of the slips, I wrote down that you had to strip down to your underwear with your pants around your ankles, wear a blue shirt as a cape, exit the apartment, and slowly waddle to the end of the long hallway and back, all while repeatedly saying, "Gotta go fast." I thought it was bizarre and great. I picked my own dare. Story 24. Late to the party. But this is my absolutely favorite story to tell. It was around 1998 or so. My buddy had gotten kicked out of his house and had emotional issues stemming from living with narcissists, Tourette's syndrome, and being an introvert. He was also having girl trouble, as he was the sort of guy who would fall hard in love with any girl who gave him the time of day, let alone showed any interest in him. Anywho, my family took him in and let him crash there for a few weeks while his folks came to their senses. He's laying on the floor of my room, and I know he wants to talk about his issues, but he's the sort of person that wants the cover of it being a game, in case he says something that someone is put off by. So in order to let him get something off his chest, I asked him, truth or dare? And it starts probably 3 or so hours of him talking about his crap. Now I've got to work in the morning, and by this time he's just rehashing crap he's already said. So in an effort to attempt to get some sleep, I tell him, either you pick dare, or I roll over and ignore your ass. Still to this day, I don't know why he did it, but he picked dare. I had just gotten over being sick, with bad bronchitis. Sitting on my nightstand is a jar of Vicks Vapo Rub, trying to think of something that would end this without blatantly telling him, I dare you to staffu so I can sleep. I spy the bottle on my little nightstand and I backhand swat it to him. I dare you to rub this on your little pen. He looks at it, unscrews the cap, and sniffs the bottle. Dunno if it was to verify it was genuine Vicks, or if he'd never used it before, but he did. Then he asked me how much to use. 2 fingers in the jar, run them around the inside. He does so and comes up with an amount equivalent to a golf ball. I see his hand disappear down into the sleeping bag and see motions that are indicative of someone playing with their balls. He pulls his hand out, sniffs it again, and asks, "What's that supposed to do?" His eyes go wide. He clutches his junk and curls into the fetal position. I'm burying my face in my pillow because I'm laughing so hard I can't breathe. I don't want to wake up my parents across the hall, so I'm muffling as much laughter as I can while my friend lies in agony. Finally, I get enough air in my lungs to tell him to go wash it off. My friend proceeds to stand up in the sleeping bag and bunny hop down the hall to the bathroom. I hear the sounds of the faucet being turned on full blast, followed by a very relieved "ah" come from the bathroom. About 5 minutes go by, and my buddy comes back into my room, sleeping bag over his shoulder and hand around his crotch. He's taking baby steps as he comes back to the spot on the floor he was at before, lays down, and mumbles softly, "It didn't help." Story 25. First time I hung out with this girl in elementary school at her house, she wanted to play truth or dare with me and her brother. His first dare? For his sister to undress in front of us. I'm expecting her to be like, what a heck? No, but alas. She takes off her shirt and drops her shorts. I'm honestly thinking about going home. The worst part? She drops her underwear and it has crusty, crafty skid marks in them. Then her brother shouts, "She got a fudgy!" and points and laughs. I went home not long after, and no, we never hung out again. Story 26. When I was 17, I was studying with a girl who started a game of truth or dare with me. I hadn't kissed since 4th grade, and we were clearly into each other. The game started with me as the asker. She chose dare. Me, being the naive, socially awkward individual that I am, dared her to touch the bottom of my family's shared toilet, which was actually really clean. She resisted, but eventually did it. When my turn came around, I chose dare. It was only fair to do so after what I just put her through. She dared me to finger her. At the moment, I was ecstatic. As we made our way to the sauna adjoining the bathroom, a rush of terror came over me. I had no idea how to do what I was about to do. I'd basically never kissed, and now I was about to finger this chick. Anyways, we get into the sauna and it's pitch black. I feel around and find her pelvic region. As I work my way down, I try to recollect the very few adult films I'd seen to that point. I start feeling around and wiggling my fingers side to side. She pleasure herself whole body back and exclaimed, "Too low." I quickly realized that I had fingered the wrong hole, and slide it, the same finger up to her pussy. After about 10 seconds, she said I was doing it too hard, and about 20 seconds later she stopped me completely. Needless to say, it was a short-lived study session. Story 27. Not my game. Last year, in the middle of class, there was a group of girls playing truth or dare. All of a sudden, I hear my name. I look over and they start giggling. One of the girls who I'm friends with walks over, smiles at me, and then tells me that this is just a one-time thing, and she punches me in the My Little Pen. Story 28. 2 friends and I were playing truth or dare. I dared one friend to give a lap dance to the invisible man in a spare chair. He countered by daring our other friend to give me a lap dance. It was all fun, games and pelvic thrusting until one of his wildly flailing limbs hit the wine glass in my hand. Red wine all over the sofa, and one of my buddies trying to support my half-fainted ass by the kitchen sink while picking bits of glass out of my finger. Safe to say his lap dancing career ended as soon as it started. Story 29. Can't remember the progression of it, but I think it started out pretty innocent and got less so. The end of the game, the second last dare was my female cousin. I think less than a year older than me, dared me to let her watch me pee standing up. Apparently younger girls are curious about the mechanics of it. Understandable, I guess, and I didn't want to be the one that backed down from a challenge. She came in the bathroom with me, acted all grossed out, but still watching intently. Now my turn, so I turned it back on her and dared her to do the same. She tells me she's not letting me watch her pee. I told her I didn't want to watch her pee. I wanted her to pee standing up, but I didn't need to watch. She did it. It didn't go well. She really had terrible aim. Ended up all over the floor and her legs. Game ended because she needed to clean up herself in the bathroom floor. Story 30. A few years ago now, my friends and I all decided to try and make Jell-O shots for the first time. We added way too much vodka to them, but we all felt obligated to finish them. We took the empty handle of Smirnoff and one of my friends decided to play truth or dare spin the bottle. With all of us pretty trashed already, it seemed like a good idea. For the first few rounds, it was all fine. Pretty normal stuff. Take a shot, go outside and eat some snow. It was winter break. But then one friend, let's call him Kevin, decided to dare one of the girls to take off her top. Now no one at the party was single, and everyone's respective partner was in attendance, which will be important later. The girl Kevin asked to take her top off decided to play along, and that was fine. But her boyfriend, we'll call him Kyle, seemed to get jealous because he then made it his mission to get Kevin's girlfriend naked. Every time it was Kyle's turn, he would find a way to target Kevin's girlfriend. The bottle pointed to me at one point, and he dared me to take off Kevin's girlfriend's bra. Of course I did it, being a team player. It didn't take long for Kevin to pick up on this, so he started to target Kyle's girlfriend for the same purpose. I should also mention that truth became all but ruled out around this time because anyone who opted for it would be ridiculed for choosing the pussy option. Eventually, Kevin, Kyle, their girlfriends, call them Emily and Lucy respectively, and everyone else in the circle, 8 of us total, we're down to nothing but underwear bottoms. Kevin gets a turn and dares Lucy to let him take off her pants. She blushes and then tries to say no, but everyone begins to cheer for her to do it. Eventually she gets up, walks over to Kevin, and immediately buries his face in her pus and stays on his face. The room goes silent. Emily gets up and storms out of the room. Apparently Lucy and Kevin had been cheating with each other. Kyle had been suspicious, but didn't want to risk accusing Lucy without proof. Obviously, this let the cat out of the bag, and what followed were some very choice words. and us never hanging out with Kevin or Lucy again. Story 31. We, 3 guys and 3 girls, were all in the hot tub at this chick's house playing Truth or Dare, and I get dared to go mash my pen up against her parents' bedroom window. Granted, it's like 1 a.m., and the whole house is completely dark, so I thought it would be no big deal. Get out of the hot tub, run over to the window, drop my suit, and smash my junk up against the window for a few moments. Then, in the reflective light of the pool, I catch a glimpse of her parents sitting right inside the window, watching us from inside. They didn't even blink, just watched me. It was ducking, terrifying. Terrifying. Like, I saw them for a split-ducking second as the light passed over the glass, just inches away from my mashed-up pen on the other side of the window. Something from a horror movie. I gasped and ran back to the hot tub, got back in, and just sat there in complete silence. A couple minutes later, her dad comes outside laughing, hands me a beer, and then reminisces with all of us for a minute about the crazy crap he did when he was a kid. I've never felt a shock like I did when I saw their faces. It still haunts me sometimes, but it all turned out better than expected. I was 25. Story 32. During a game of Truth or Dare, my wife picked Truth, and they asked her what was the nastiest thing she ever did in bed, and she answered, my husband. To be fair, it was a pretty suck burn. Story 33. The cute new girl at a party with my really close group of friends got dared to slap someone. I, being the tough mother ducker I am, volunteers. After about a minute of coaxing her to do it, she finally slaps me. Now I'm friends with a lot of girls, and they slap me quite often for various reasons, but nothing compared to this. I'm pretty sure the base of her hand, the part where all the bones meet, hit me right where my jaw meets my skull. I was planning on making a joke or pickup line, but I was just too surprised. I then proclaimed that she hits harder than all the other girls in the room, and of course, our attention escort friend Annie, not real name, gets all offended and stands up to hit me. Someone threw something at her, and the next thing you know, there's crying and screaming all around. My friends suck sometimes. Story 34. An old acquaintance of mine once snorted a spoonful of Tabasco hot sauce up his nose. He then proceeded to rip the faucet out of my sink, pour a gallon of milk all over his face, and flee the party like a hooligan. The funny part is that no one even dared him to do it. He just decided that he could dare himself. Story 35. Tabasco up the ass. It was like the craps after wing night, except it burned for way longer. Got me really hard though, so I guess there was a silver lining. Story 36. I was on a Mediterranean cruise and I was in some people I had met on the cruises room. They were American. It was me, a Brit, the 2 cousins, and a bunch of Spaniards, mainly girls, because it started in Barcelona. They had some very sexual Truth or Dare app. At one point I recognized all of the girls blindfolded by the feel of their assets. I also both licked and got licked from navel to neck. Now in this Truth or Dare there was quite a bit of nudity, down to underwear, naked with the squiggly bits covered by a magazine, so on and so forth. One of the dares was a strip coin flip between 2 people. I can't remember how many flips, but it was enough to be worrying without actually being probable you'd have to show anything. Now I was chosen for this coin flip, along with a very hot 18-year-old Spanish girl. It started. She got one. She took off a belt. At this point, it's probably best to say I wasn't prepped for a strip competition of any kind. I wasn't wearing socks because I had flip-flops, which were already off. I had a thin t-shirt and underwear under a pair of shorts with no belt. My luck turned, and I was very quickly in my underwear. She got a few, but unlike me, she was prepared. She took off her top, exposing her very nice fun bags, but even then she had her bra, and her underbra, and her under-underbra. Even by the end, I reckon she still had another 20 things she could take off, but it was all small and insignificant. But my luck turned against me once again, and I was down to 2 hands. The room was quiet now. Nobody knew whether they wanted to see my afternoon delight or not, but it continued. 1 hand. I'm having trouble keeping it all in place. A walnut here, a bit of mushroom there like a poorly made salad. The last coin flipped and landed. I had lost for the final time. The boys said I only had to show for a couple of seconds, but that wasn't going to happen. I whipped out my disco stick and helicopter bananaed around in a circle. The guys were both dying of laughter and dying of shock. The girls were giggling in embarrassment or lust for my Benjamin Franklin. But they had brought this upon them. They had unleashed the beast. The game continued after I got dressed again, but the coin flip was done warily instead of excitedly. I ended up hooking up with one of the girls and learnt the only Spanish word I'll ever need. Story 37. Once I was on a date with a football player, and after dinner, he offered to teach me how to drive standard shift. After a few times of me scraping the hell out of the gears, he leans over and says, "I dare you to drive home." I flat out refused, and he replied, "Either you have to drive home or you give me a kiss." The date wasn't going well up until that point, so I drove. Story 38. I wasn't playing. I went to bed, went to sleeping bag, early. I vaguely recall dreaming of waking up as one of the cute girls of the group grinding on me on top of my sleeping bag. I'm an extremely heavy sleeper, and they all knew that zero. When I woke up, I was pretty sure I had had a wet dream. She wouldn't talk to me the next morning, and everyone was a little awkward about telling me what happened the night before. Apparently, what happens in Truth or Dare stays in Truth or Dare. Story 39. When I was in high school, a few friends and I were in the same bio class. This class was also a lab, so it was an extremely large, spacious classroom. Our teacher would give us our assignment, and we were free to roam the room in groups to work together. Well, of course, my group decided to go to the very back in the lab, away from the teacher's view. We finished our work pretty quickly, and the T or D came up. It started off pretty innocently for high schoolers. Grab her butt, sit on his lap, kiss, and then my friend jokingly tells a female friend, "Suck Louie's banana." She did, in front of everyone. After she was done, the game was over and we went back to our desks like nothing had happened. No one else ever found out. The end. Story 40. When the girl I really liked at the time ended sex with my friend, and the same thing happened a second time with a different girl. I was 18 at the time and my friend was 19. Damn you, Marvin. Story 41. Let's stop playing spin the bottle and kick it up a notch. The girls started writing things down on pieces of paper and putting them in a hat. Spend 5 minutes with Natalie Jersey in the bathroom or closet. Give down to the girl to your left. BJ Natalie Jersey in front of everyone. Have sex with Natalie Jersey, etc. Me and 4 girls having fun. Easily the greatest hot adventure of my life, never to be duplicated. Story 42. We made a guy eat a spider. Not a small spider. A ducking wolf spider. Cue a wild search for a wolf spider until one girl finds one on the back of the house. He slowly approaches the wolf spider, hits it with a fly swatter a few times until it stops moving, then places it in his mouth. Immediately, the ducker bites him on the tongue. He screams and starts frantically chewing and chugging beer. He did manage to swallow it, though he threw it up pretty soon after. The game ended there. Story 43. Not out of control, but pretty hilarious. Junior year of college, my 3 sophomore year roommates and I had moved off campus to a condo. Myself and one other had girlfriends who stayed there quite often. Roommate 2 was too prude to have one. Roommate 3, Timmy, was an ass and of course did not have one. What he did have was the only couch in the condo. During Never Have I Ever, roommate 1's girlfriend said, "Never have I ever fooled around on Timmy's couch." And she and roommate 1 proceeded to drink. My girlfriend, now wife, and I both drank. And 2 other couples who did not even live there drank. Timmy, of course, did not drink and instead got really pissed off. Story 44. When I drunkenly dared my then-boyfriend to suck my best friend's banana, and he agreed to it. Also probably when my best friend upped the ante by sucking my ex's banana after that. Story 45. When I was 10, me and some friends were playing tag in my backyard. My house is built such that there is a random corner on the back, and so one of my friends dared another to spear the next guy coming around the corner. He got in position, ready, set, spear. He absolutely leveled the poor kid in total Edge fashion. In a random turn of events, the guy who was speared got up without tears and walked directly home. The next day, when he showed up with 2 black eyes, we asked him what he told his mom, and he said, "I told her I ran into the side of the house." Needless to say, we've dubbed him Iron Man ever since. That was 10 years ago. Story 46. Gonna get buried, but this story became legend in my fraternity, and the girl still has her nickname, now 5 years later. We were entertaining a prospective member of our fraternity and had a small party at the house. Not very many people showed up because it was over the summer, and so it ended up being 3 girls and roughly 7 guys. The fun started with beer pong, progressed to strip pong, and then eventually someone suggested we get in the sauna, steam room, that was built into a closet at the house. Truth or dare ensued. Hot dances. Guys dared to drop their towel and waggle it around, etc. We're drinking and doing shots in this steam room for about 2 hours when I have the bright idea to dare my buddy to take a shot of tequila out of one of the girls' belly button. As I pour the shot, she shivers from the cold tequila. He chases the shot that is now running south and ends up slurping a gulp of tequila from her snatch, then quickly threw open the door and proceeded to vomit into a trash can. The combination of tequila and sweaty snatch was too much for one man, and so Koozie Susie was born. Story 47. When was young, like 18, we played with a large mixed gender group from our community. Someone dared this 20-year-old to have sex with me, and she did. She is now married, has 2 kids, and still looks me up from time to see if I still remember. My wife hates her. Story 48. My daughter is 3, and the other day she was playing with the neighbor girl who is quite a bit older. I heard the older girl trying to get my daughter to play truth or dare. She asked my daughter to tell her a truth no one else is supposed to know. My daughter said the other day my daddy got toilet paper stuck in his butt. That's what I get for trying to be a good dad. My daughter had come out of the bathroom one day with toilet paper still stuck to her, and we all laughed, which embarrassed her, and she started crying, so I pulled her aside and told her I had a secret, that one time I got toilet paper stuck to my butt. But she couldn't tell anyone. She lasted almost 24 hours before she had told everyone she knew. Story 49. This was at a birthday party in middle school. A late blooming boy chose truth and was asked if he had pubes. He was silent for what seemed like forever, then said no softly, causing the room to erupt with laughter. He began to cry and had to leave the room. He didn't come out for hours. He had a girlfriend at the party, so I'm sure it added to the embarrassment. Story 50. Was drinking with a bunch of friends one night, years ago in college. 2 of my buddies decided to take the bus home, and by chance met a couple of larger girls at the bus stop. One of them had a teardrop tattooed on her face, so you know she was classy. They all started playing truth or dare, and before long the questions turned hot. The next time it was my friend's turn to ask, and one of the girls chose dare, he just flat out said, "I dare you to suck my banana." Spoiler alert, she did it. Story 51. Don't know if it counts as truth or dare necessarily. But one time my friend was trying to sleep during a sleepover and I kept saying things to make her laugh. Eventually she said, "If you don't stop, I'm going to kiss you." And I was trying to make her laugh, so I kept talking and said, "Nah, you won't." And she got up and kissed me, and then I realized I wasn't as straight as I thought I was. Story 52. Okay, so me and my friends in high school were really drunk and playing truth or dare. Usually we do really wild but harmless things, like my friend's now ex dared him to put those black paper clamps on his banana and keep them on all night. Which he did, just stupid crap. But we never backed down. Then it happened, my best mate dared to roll on his side downhill on Asphalt Street in nothing but a thong. It was Arizona. He rolled into a cactus. Story 53. When I dared my friend to go streaking to the street and back, about 50 yards. The only problem was one of the other kids' mother happened to be driving by at the time. That kid had to go home, and we had found another game to play. Story 54. Back in the summer after senior year of high school, my girlfriend and I had a short period where we broke up. Our friends, who didn't know we were ever together and also didn't know we were gay, dared us to kiss each other. 2 years later. We're still together, so well played.